And just to start, if you could just kind of just go over the credit rating that the city received.
Well, what the city received from Moody's was a reaffirmation of its AA2 rating, which is a very positive rating. The outlook that was assigned to that rating was indicated as negative. And so in a discussion of that tonight, we asked specifically what that means for the city, and what's more important is what it doesn't mean. It does not mean that the city is in a poor financial position. It does not mean that the city represents an undue amount of risk to lenders or in our borrowing structure. And it doesn't mean that the city's cash position and financial position is a negative. What it means is that there's a lot of projects going on in Wausau at once, a lot of public and private partnerships, which have required a step up in the city's municipal debt, but we've also diversified our debt portfolio among a number of different financing sources rather than just issuing general obligation debt, which is what we had done historically in the past. And in the past, the city carried all of the debt also for the water and sewer utilities, but that has now changed. That debt's been assigned back to the utilities. They're financially healthy and they're able to carry that debt themselves. And so that really then relieves the financing burden off of the city, and it does help to dilute our debt ratio a little bit and bring us back in line with where we want to be in terms of our borrowing. So what we heard tonight from Ellers, our financial planner, was actually very positive. It represents kind of the intersection of a number of projects at the same time, but it also is representative of what they profiled in their narrative, a strong cash reserve, a strong cash position. The city retires debt aggressively on a 10-year cycle, so we retire a lot of debt quickly. So that's a very positive in the report. One thing that was mentioned in the report, just as at a cursory level, was what they referred to as a stagnant tax base, but that really is reflective of the assessment error that took place when the prior interim assessor was in place. The public is very aware that there was a reporting error made in total value. That really does, on paper, look like a stagnation in value, but of course next year we'll see some correction in that. And also the city has partnered with the private sector to invest in approximately $150 million of new taxable property in the next couple of years. So I think we're going to see some forward momentum in all of those factors. So the idea that the outlook was negative really is a financier's term that's used to indicate, loading and risk. It's like a snapshot in time of a situation, and so the public should not view it as a cause for alarm, and they certainly should not panic over that, because there were many positive things in the report as well.
And you kind of answered that question right there, but it was mentioned in the meeting that these reports kind of focus on a lot of the negative and don't really mention the positive. So would you almost want to tell the public to take this with a grain of salt, really?
I would, only to the extent that most of those ratings, they're very objective, they're very fair, but they're also very conservative because of what has happened in the financial market and with the economy. During the Great Recession, rating organizations have become very conservative in their projections, and rightly so. If we're overly aggressive and overly positive as we review these things and we have investor overconfidence, sometimes the balloon can expand and then pop. So a conservative approach, nothing wrong with that. And so, it is not a black mark on the permanent record of the city of Wausau. The city of Wausau is in a very positive position, and there's some great things happening here, and I think we should focus on that and celebrate it.
And how much does this kind of weigh in the back of the mind of the city at all, that there was a negative outlook, or how does the city kind of respond to that?
Well, the way we respond to that really is, number one, through accurate reporting of property values, which we have corrected that issue. We also look at, though, what we see on the horizon in terms of positive forward movement economically. And so our economic indicators locally, unemployment is low, the private sector is more willing to expand and invest than they've been in a very long time, and they're willing to partner with their government to move forward for the sake of progress. And so all of those things playing together create a very positive environment for business startups and for expansion of local and existing businesses in the city of Wausau. And of course, we as local government partner with those industries when we can to create new jobs, create new tax base, and really create opportunity in the entrepreneurial sector. So we are clearly a willing partner, but we're a partner. The private sector needs to work with us, and they do, and we then reciprocate and work back with them, and those partnerships then lead us to some very positive results.
And do you believe that the city is making strides towards getting rid of that negative outlook in the coming years then?
Well, I think so. In fact, I think that it is indicative of what I would consider to be a short-term anomaly. We've got kind of the confluence of a number of things happening at one time that perhaps to a conservative investment analyst would look like maybe an increased element of risk, but as the projects come to fruition and that taxable value then is realized, I think we'll see a successful completion of a number of projects that will perhaps dilute that perception. So I'm not alarmed by it at this point, and I think it's something that we certainly will work through. We've already been working in a direction, it's just a matter of continuing forward.